Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
And that breaking news comes from Detroit's west side, where a police situation is underway.
Yeah, this is happening in the area of Fenkell and the Southfield Service Drive. Let's get right out to Mara McDonald live on the scene. Hey, Mara, what can you tell us right now?
Damon, first of all, I want everybody to understand how large this scene is. This is the Southfield Service Drive. This is Fenkell. The scene we're talking about extends in easily a 5-block radius here. There are no fewer than 20 squad cars out here. However, the majority of what is happening is taking place on the Southfield Service Drive. You will see there is a white SUV down there surrounded by some squad cars. Let me emphasize that the initial information that we are getting is preliminary. And what we were being told is that there was some sort of exchange of gunfire between that SUV and police. Unknown about why, what, or how, but there has been an exchange of gunfire and that there is one injury. We don't know how serious it is. We don't know if it is a fatality, and we don't know if it's an officer or it was one of those people or person that is in that SUV. But you have a tremendous police presence out here. We are told that the Public Information Office is on the way. We expect some kind of a briefing, but right now there has been some sort of an exchange of gunfire between police and that SUV over there, right here on the Southfield Service Drive near Fenkell. We are live on Detroit's west side right now. We'll come back to you when we know more.
Yeah.
I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
Still a very, very fluid situation. Okay, Mara, we'll check back in with you. Thank you. Also breaking tonight, longtime radio personality Ken Calvert has died.
It's Superstation 760 WJR. Ken Calvert around until 3 o'clock. Dr. Laura at 3. And I do believe
Calvert was born and raised here in Detroit, a graduate of Brother Rice High School and student of OCC in Farmington Hills, where he took broadcast voice and acting courses. Ken has spent the last 45 years as a radio broadcaster and freelance voiceover announcer, 16 of those years as the PA announcer for the Pistons, most notably during the Bad Boys era. We'll have more on Ken Calvert when you join us for Local 4 News starting at 4:30 a.m. But again, Ken Calvert died at the age of 72 tonight.
How do you like it?
Finding answers 40 years later. We're going inside the death and the life of Washtenaw County's decades-old Jane Doe. Investigators found a woman buried in a shallow grave back in 1985 in Washtenaw County.
Last week, deputies identified her through DNA as 25-year-old Cheryl Coates. Tonight, Jacqueline Francis talked with Cheryl's family about the unique legacy she leaves behind.
This was such an interesting story. We had to keep digging, talking with Cheryl Coates' cousin about what she thinks led up to the murder all those years ago and the family she left behind.
It's actually a picture of her when she was younger.
Chrislyn Manuel comes from a storied family. Her great-grandmother, Mita Warwick Fuller, was a famous sculptor who studied under Rodin.
That's probably her most famous sculpture, Ethiopia Awakening. That's the one that's in the Smithsonian.
Her great-grandfather was the first black psychiatrist in the United States. And her aunt, Mita Waller, died in 9/11 working at the Pentagon. Mita died never knowing what happened to her daughter, Cheryl Coates.
Something she never got over.
For decades, Cheryl was a missing person. She vanished from Detroit in the mid-1980s. That was until this month, when the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office identified her remains through DNA. They contacted her cousin, Chrislyn, saying Cheryl had finally been found.
They told me that she had been a Jane Doe with them since 1985. And all this time, I just think of all the times we've been wondering, what happened? Where is she? Is she alive? Is she dead? And she was right, very close by the whole time.
Chrislyn lives just 15 minutes from where Cheryl's remains were found in a wooded area in Superior Township.
It was weird because a part of me felt, I wouldn't say happy, but relieved to know finally what happened, but it was also very sad. Because they told me she was shot in the head twice, shot in the back of the head twice, and buried in a shallow grave. And just thinking of, how frightened she must have been.
The family had theories about what happened, believing Cheryl had gotten mixed up in a bad crowd and was possibly set up by a friend or thought to be an informant. Soon after she went missing, Cheryl's mom came to Detroit to meet with police, who didn't offer much hope.
Basically told her, we have over 400 missing young black women. You know, what do you expect me to do?
Chrislyn doesn't know if the killer will ever be caught, but she does know Cheryl will soon be surrounded by loved ones, laid to rest next to her mother.
The family tells us that it was a prisoner that tipped off police to where the body was. That was back in the mid-1980s. This case is still open. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office. Reporting live tonight, Jacqueline Francis, Local 4.
Okay, Jacqueline, thank you. New at 11, the NCAA puts the Wolverines on notice in relation to allegations of recruiting during COVID.
University officials confirmed that the notice was received this week. The Big Ten suspended Coach Harbaugh for the final 3 games of the regular season for an unrelated matter stemming from an alleged sign-stealing scheme. That is still under investigation right now. Now, Hobie will have more coming up later in sports.
Drivers are celebrating a major transportation turning point in Macomb County. Today, County Executive Mark Hackel and others marked the reopening of Mound Road after a $220 million renovation. The project stretched from I-696 to M59. Hackel says the repairs and new technology could make complaints about potholes on Mound a thing of the past.
We wanted this road to be safe. We don't want to see potholes. I don't want to hear about potholes, especially on Mound Road. But also the technology that's embedded. Probably the most technologically advanced roadway in the entire country is right here in Macomb County, the cities of Sterling Heights and the city of Warren.
County leaders say they're now seeking funds to work on Mound between 696 and 8 Mile. The money for the current project could not be used for that stretch of road.
A former Detroit police officer is facing manslaughter charges right now in the death of a senior citizen. Prosecutors say 29-year-old Jawan Brown was on duty back in September when he was called to the Garden Bowl for help with the customer who was causing problems and potentially armed. They say Brown punched 71-year-old Darrell Vance after a verbal altercation. The punch knocked Vance to the ground where he hit his head. He died weeks later. Brown right now is due back in court on January 3rd.
Red Wings games will remain on Bally Sports, at least for now. The NHL and Diamond Sports Group have reached a tentative agreement that will keep local broadcasts for 11 teams, including the Wings, on the regional sports network through the end of this season. Diamond Sports has been in Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceedings since March with a debt of more than $8 billion. Local rights for those 11 teams will revert back to the NHL at the end of this season. New license plates and driver's licenses with cutting-edge security coming to the state starting in the new year.
Yeah, the state is bringing back a green and white Water Wonderland license plate. The plate is similar to the one issued in 1963 for some types of vehicles. It comes 2 years after Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson brought back 1965's blue and yellow Water Wonderland license plate, which became popular over the years. Residents will be able to order the plate beginning Saturday, January 27th.
And Michigan is also changing its driver's licenses and IDs to include engraved data and several new security features that reduce the risk of counterfeiting and fraud. They'll be issued at the end of January until all cards with the current design are phased out over the next 4 years.